in today's programme I'll be giving some new twists to old favourites such as pasta, bread and chocolate cake. But first of all, some ideas for picnics, grilling and barbecues. They're perfect for summer, winter, indoors or out, at home or away. And the first one is Judy's thighs, which can be cooked on the barbecue or in the oven. It's using chicken thighs. Now you usually buy them bone in, skin on, and you can buy them skin and bone, but they're a lot more expensive. So first of all, remove the skin from the chicken thigh and then take out the bone. You just need a very sharp knife to do that, and I've taken that out already. And I'm going to replace that with a sausage. But first of all, I'm going to put an interesting seasoning in, some freeze-dried sage sprinkled over the top. And it's a pork sausage that's going in the middle, so that's quite natural. Then some salt and lots of ground black pepper. And then in the centre, your favourite make of pork sausage, a chipolata, and just wrap that round like that. And to keep it all together, I'm not going to get out a needle of thread or skewer through it. You just wrap it round, and I'm going to put some dry cure bacon here, so it'll be a really good flavour, streaky. And then you just wrap them round. And it's providing you use fresh chicken thighs and fresh sausages, you can make these up as a batch for the freezer, and they'll be very popular. So let's put those in the tin. Now they're good on the barbecue. If you barbecue, make sure the coals are low and cook them slowly, or you can cook them in a hot oven. Brush them with oil first, and that is at a temperature of 220 degrees centigrade. In a fan oven, that's 200, in gas 7, or in the Aga in the roasting oven right at the top until they're golden brown, and that'll be in about 25 minutes. Have you ever been to a barbecue and had charred kebabs and other foods? Well, I'm going to show you how not to have it in that way. Well, first of all, it's getting all the foods at the right size and cooking time. I've got fish here. Now that's a short time cooking. I've got here some salmon and a little bit of monkfish, some tiger prawns, and I put them in a marinade to give them some good flavour and leave them for 1.5 hours up to about 8 hours, and you'll get a real flavour from that. Then lift them out of the marinade and put them onto a skewer. Now you can do it on a barbecue, you can do it under the grill. If you're putting things like courgettes onto kebabs, they'll cook at the same time as the fish. But don't put them in the marinade because, strangely enough, they go a very weird sort of grey-green colour. Then if you're taking something like a tiger prawn, find the little join in the shell, poke the stick firmly through like that, and out the other side. Then some salmon, that's a nice piece of salmon with no bone, no skin. Push that in the centre so it won't drop off. Move that along, and then we come to the fish, the monkfish. And that's a firm fish and cooks very well. And then you move on again to the courgette. And remember to wet the skewer, and then they're less likely to burn. And I've got some like that, and all they need now is some pepper all over them, lots of black pepper. And you might like to brush over the courgette with a little oil, because that will mean that it will cook and get a nice crispy outside. And they're ready. Let's tidy the decks a moment. And now to vegetables, the same principle. Put it into a marinade, and I made a slightly different marinade this time. It's bay leaves and fresh thyme. I think that's lemon thyme. A few fat cloves of garlic, about 12 bay leaves, and balsamic vinegar and olive oil. Now again, choose vegetables that cook in the same time. I've got all different coloured peppers here, cut into chunky pieces. I've got button firm mushrooms, and the corn on the cob is cut in slices, and really chunky pieces of onion, and those would be the sort of sweet Spanish onions. But you've noticed that I haven't in fact put any of those lovely little baby tomatoes, because what happens if you put those on the skewer is they just drop off because they cook so quickly. These want to be cooked slowly on the grill or the barbecue so that they get a nice colour and they're cooked to perfection. And here's a meat version, minted lamb kebabs. I've already put in the processor an onion which will be chopped and mixed with this minced lamb. You can buy minced lamb now in the supermarket, and I've got 675 grams of lamb, and I've got a teaspoonful of ground cumin and a teaspoonful of ground coriander. These are two of my favourite spices. They're aromatic and feature quite often in my recipes. That's it. Then I've got some mint and parsley, just a small handful of each. In they go. And then season it with salt and pepper. Sprinkle that round. Lots of ground black pepper. And then process that until the onion is chopped and the herbs are in a chunky consistency. Put the lid on and whiz it. That looks fine, just the right consistency. And then press that mixture into a sort of toffee tin that's been really well greased, and then chill it for just about an hour or a bit more. And then turn it out. I've oiled a board here, and take the mixture. You will have to just loosen it around the outside to begin with, just so it comes out like that, and it's in a well-oiled tin. And then take it and turn it onto the board and give it a good bang. Then lift that out, and hopefully that's it. And then cut that in half. Get that out of the way. Cut that in half, and then cut each half into 8. So like that. And these will be into 4. Right. So it's a very quick way of making kebabs. That's just about right, if I can count. That's it. Then take a skewer that you've soaked overnight, because again it won't burn. Put that down like that, straight through the centre. It's a pretty clever way, this, isn't it? Like that. And then take your hands and just roll that round like that till it's the... That's it. And then I'm going to add them to the others here. Mine are a bit smaller, these, aren't they? There's a slight change in colour there, because those were made about 10 minutes ago. They get a dark colour on the outside. And then brush those with a glaze, and it's just soya sauce and honey. You can make the actual kebabs 8 hours ahead and keep them in the fridge if you like, but always put the glaze on just before you cook them. In the pan, I've got some bechamel sauce, which I've cooked already. I made the bechamel sauce with 900 ml of milk, and I infused the milk with a bay leaf and some peppercorns. And that just brought it gently to the boil, and then put it to one side and let it infuse for about half an hour. And that gives it a really good flavour before you start. Strain it off, and then you take 50 grams of flour and 50 grams of butter and make a roux and make the sauce in the usual way. And it's fairly runny. Now I'm going to add the fish to it. It's a baked pasta dish, and the fish I'm using is smoked haddock without any skin or bone. I bet you were wondering why it was pasta amaria. Well, in Spanish, amaria is yellow, so that was quite a good name. I've made this also with salmon in my time, but it's really more flavoursome. So that's in, and cook it just for a couple of minutes or so. And give that a good stir. Then the eggs, and I've got 3 hard-boiled eggs, and they're coarsely chopped. In they go. Now, if you were freezing this, you would leave out the hard-boiled egg, because hard-boiled egg goes a little bit leathery. Blend that. Then the lemon juice, the juice of a whole lemon, that just sharpens it up. And again, just blend that together. And then, lastly, the pasta. Now, the pasta is it looks a bit like macaroni, but it's not. It's penne, and I've cooked that in lots of salted water, and with it I cooked a lot of onion, a nice big chunky onion, which I've chopped coarsely. So that's 225 grams of pasta. I'll just help it in, and I rinsed it well. You see how it's going in quite easily. I rinsed it in hot water if you're serving it at once, cold water if you're serving it later. Then blend that together. And it is essential that this sauce isn't too thick, particularly if you're going to freeze it. You want to add just a little extra milk to it. And the amount of milk that I've put in is 900 ml. That's it. And then season it with lots of black pepper, fairly coarsely ground, and just a little salt because the fish may well be salty. Blend that together. Then into the dish, and a fairly shallow dish so that there's lots of topping. Pour that in, and you can see the way it's running, that sauce was runny. Right over the top, and then pour some cream over the top, just a small carton of double cream over the top. Then some mozzarella cheese, and then some parmesan. And then it needs about 25 minutes in a good hot oven, or in the Aga roasting oven for about the same time, or a bit less in the fan oven, until it's golden brown. This is a pasta salad with a difference, not too much pasta. I like lots of extra flavours such as avocado, tuna, hard-boiled eggs, black olives and chives in a light mayonnaise dressing. And this time it's pappardelle with tomato and vodka sauce. In the pan I've got a large onion which I've fried in about 25 grams of butter, and I've added some oregano, dried oregano, and it's a lovely colour and just cooked to perfection. Now it comes to the first interesting ingredient, and that is some Black Forest ham. That's a dry smoked ham and thinly sliced, or you may find that the cheapest on your counter is Parma ham or Serrano ham, any of the dry cure hams. Put that in, and that's what gives it its flavour as well as the vodka. Then I'm going to add a full can and the juice of chopped tomatoes, and give that a good stir, and let that cook for about 10 minutes and let it reduce and let all that juice boil away, and then the full flavour of the ham will get into the dish. And that's bubbling away. With the onion, by the way, I had 2 fat cloves of garlic that had been crushed and fried with the onion. Now that has reduced, and I'm now going to add the other ingredients. First of all, the vodka. Now, about 150 grams. Now, if your daughter has drunk all the vodka or it's gone, you could add gin, but in our house it's Mum that's had the gin, so I suppose we'd have to end up with stock. But seriously, vodka makes the recipe. Now that's just about the right consistency, just a little bit of sort of sloppy juice there. And I'm then going to add the creme fraiche, a carton of creme fraiche, scraping that out well, and some fresh basil leaves. Now the basil I've just torn it, and it'll give it a lovely colour, and don't attempt to use dried because it is part of its charm to have these big pieces of leaf. And then just blend that together. And we just let that cook for just a further 5 minutes. And that's just the right consistency, and I can see boldly those leaves of basil. Then I'm going to season that with pepper and salt. Lots of pepper. I shall go easy on the salt because the dry cured ham is often quite salty. So salt, and about 40 grams of parmesan. Now you can keep this sauce once it's cold in the fridge for a week, and if you wish to freeze it, you can freeze it for up to 2 months. So back on the heat, because I'm going to serve it now with the full amount of pasta, I've got Pappardelle here, which is a ribbon pasta which has a sort of frill on it, and there's about 450 grams of it, and I've cooked it al dente. Now if you can't get Pappardelle, you could use any ribbon pasta, just tagliatelle would do, but this is just such an interesting, different pasta. Then just mix that together, get it well coated.
And serve straight away with some more parmesan. This makes any party go with a swing.
Lemon poppy seed tray bake. I made the lemon tray bake in my last series, Ultimate Cakes, and it was a great favourite. So here's a variation. First, aligning the tin. I'm doing it with foil, but if you put the foil straight in and poke your fingers through the corners of the foil so easily. So this is a quick way. Reverse the tin, and it could be your roasting tin. Put the foil on top like that, and then just press the foil and make a mould at the corners like that, quite firmly. Again that end, and again that end. Then you've got your own cake tin, reverse it like that. That goes the tin, and just slip it in. And grease it and put the mixture in.
This is a standard all-in-one mixture. Then a new addition, 25 grams of poppy seeds. Remember to use soft baking margarine for success for the all-in-one cake method. Then pour the mixture into the lined and greased baking tin. It will take about 20 minutes at 180-160 fan, roasting oven of the Aga, and don't forget to put that cold shelf above. This is the icing mix, granulated sugar and lemon juice. As soon as the cake comes out of the oven, brush the hot surface with the topping. The lemon soaks into the sponge and the sugar stays crunchy on top. Lemon poppy seed tray bake. In Australia, where I discovered this combination, they like to warm it in the microwave.
Very best chocolate cake. I know you've heard that before, but this one really is my very best chocolate cake. It's rich, it's moist, and it keeps well. In the bowl, I've got 50 grams of sieved cocoa, and I'm going to cook that with boiling water. So I've got some boiling water just here, and I'm going to add 6 tablespoonfuls. So pour it directly onto the cocoa, and that'll take away that slightly bitter flavour. Then just turn the machine on until it's all well blended, and it'll be a paste. That's it. Let's have a look at that consistency. Now, just scrape down, first of all, the sides, and you'll see it's a thick paste. If you've added a little bit too much liquid and then you're generous with the spoonfuls, you could always add a little bit less milk in a moment. That's it. Now to the other ingredients. 3 eggs going in. You can put those in whole. 120 ml of milk. 175 grams of flour going in. 100 grams of soft margarine and 275 grams of caster sugar. And 1 rounded teaspoonful of baking powder. Then just mix all that together. That's it, all beautifully smooth. I'll just give it one final beat when I get it out. Scrape that down. Now, a word about that margarine that I used. It was soft baking margarine. You can take it straight from the fridge if you're using a mixing machine. It'll need to be a little bit softer if you're doing it by hand. Now, all the outside is in. Let's put that into the tins. I've got 2 tins here, and I've lined them with greased paper. Grease the tin first of all, and then line it with paper, and that'll make quite sure that it doesn't stick. Pour that into the tin, and they're 8-inch tins, and divide it equally between the tin. It's sort of a batter. Then I'm going to bake those at 180, gas number 4, that's 170 in a fan oven, and they'll take about 20 to 25 minutes in an Aga on the grid shelf on the floor of the roasting oven, and it should be shrinking away from the sides of the tin when it's done.
While the cakes cool, make the filling mixture. Melt some good quality plain chocolate with 150 ml of double cream. and this makes an easy filling that doubles up for the icing as well. Spread some of the chocolate mixture over warmed apricot jam. Then with the other cake on top, also brushed with jam, use the rest of the chocolate mixture to ice the cake. This is a very grown-up chocolate cake.